Hello again. Hello, everyone. Thank you for tuning in. We are streaming live from Zurich, and we have the pleasure now to have Reifa with us. We'll be speaking about empowering QA in Agile Environment. Just a quick introduction for you, Reifa. Reifa is a software QA engineer with 11 years of experience as a founder of Squad and the visionary behind the thriving Indonesian software quality assurance community. She has a prominent figure in the QA industry. Your expertise in testing web application and mobile app, coupled with your dedication to streamlining the processes and delivering top-notch quality, has made you a respected leader in the field. Your influence extends beyond your professional achievements as you have created a platform of knowledge and sharing collaboration through iSQI. With a passion of for empowering QA professionals around the world. So you've made yourself in the limelight. You put yourself in the limelight in the QA field. So it's a pleasure having you with us, Raifa, and it's a very interesting topic, agile. So that's the craze and the buzzword right now in the industry. I'll leave the floor to you for your presentation.
Thank you so much, Lovedash, for the introduction. Hello and good afternoon, everyone. Thank you very much, A4Q, for the opportunity to share some of my insights as a QA to more people so that we all can benefit from it. The topic of discussion today is to dive into the quality assurance process in the Agile environment and how can we as a QA be empowered, or business and our stakeholders in general can empower their QA team to be better. So let's dive into it. So we will go through a couple of topics today, such as role of QA in Agile, identify bottlenecks, foster communication, implement continuous testing, streamline planning, leverage automation, and embrace continuous improvement. So let's get started with the first topic. We will discuss about what is actually the role of QA in Agile. I'm pretty sure you've heard so many definitions of QA roles and responsibilities in each company you have joined or currently working at. Unfortunately, most of the time, QA is being classified as a tester whose main responsibility is just to find and report bugs. Therefore, there's even a saying that within the SDLC process, QA is the second-class citizen because of the lack of responsibility within QA, in which resulted in many companies thinking of cutting off QA department because of the improper understanding of the shift left testing. Therefore, let's switch that thinking concept for a moment. Let's look at the role of QA in Agile in a holistic way, as QA is not just about finding bugs, but QA is about empowering the team to create quality products. Within my career as a QA, I've heard so many catchphrases about QA, but the most famous ones, and sometimes something that I always remember and actually is being used so many times, are like the first one: we need to release these features like yesterday, so let's skip QA because the dev team have tested the features. Or QA testing is very slow, it's holding up the release. Now let's ask ourselves, are those catchphrases true? Is QA really the source of bottlenecks within the SDLC process? So let's play detective for a bit. Where might things be slowing down? Let me tell you a tale about how a company can fail due to improper testing processes. This company, let's say Quicker Duck, was known for their fast-paced development cycles and its agile methodology. However, as the time passed by, their releases started getting delayed week after week. Intrigued by these inconsistencies, The QA team started their detective work. The first clue was the growing number of bugs being reported late in the sprints. And diving deeper, they discovered the real culprit, which is the feature creep. I'm pretty sure most of you are familiar with the feature creeps. This is the main complaint from QA all over the world about the new features or changes in the middle of the sprint, which can make a huge impact in the agile processes. So, is it wrong then to introduce new features in the middle of the sprint? Let's start with how we can improve the quicker DAG SDLC processes by empowering the QA team. The first thing first that we need to do is to make sure that QA and developers are actually talking during the development process. It's very understandable that we are merely human. Sometimes when we as a developer hear that our so-called perfect, wonderful apps are actually not so perfect, we tend to raise our walls and start become defensive. So both the QA and dev team need to lower the walls and start using that to make bridge between them. According to a study by the iSQI, a significant percentage of defects in software can be traced back to miscommunication or misunderstood requirements. With the principles laid out in CTFL and CTFL Agile Tester, the emphasis is placed on clear communication between testers, developers, and stakeholders to ensure that requirements are well understood and accurately implemented. This highlights the need of open channels of communication between all members of the development and testing teams. When communication thrives, the quality of the product improves, the number of defects decreases, and the overall efficiency of the SDLC process is enhanced. The next thing that we can look at is how we can implement continuous testing within the quicker DAG company. There are a couple of suggestions we can do. For example, the instant feedback. Faster identification of defects allowing for immediate rectifications, which reduces the cost of errors as they are spotted early in the development process. Facilitates continuous integration or continuous deployment. Seamless integration of new code changes into existing code base can enable faster, consistent, and reliable deliveries to production. Enhance collaboration by bringing together developers, testers, and ops for shared responsibility by bridging the gaps and fosters communication can reduce misunderstandings and misinterpretation. The shift left approach can be misleading actually. It doesn't mean that shift left means developers are testing and there's no need for QA to do any more testing. The shift left approach is to have testing to start earlier in the SDLC, catching issues in the design and development phases. This approach can promote a proactive rather than reactive approach to quality assurance. We also need to be open with adaptability and flexibility, which allows for changes and modifications in code without long delays. This approach will ensure that the product remains aligned with business and user requirements even when they are evolved. Another important thing is the risk mitigation process. Frequent testing leads to early risk identification, which ensures high reliability and stability of the product. And last but not least is how we can optimize our resources. Automated continuous testing reduces the manual effort and time in the testing process, which allow QA teams to focus on more complex exploratory testing tasks. Now that we understand how quicker DAG can implement the continuous testing, we can also take a look at how quicker DAG can streamline the test planning in Agile. There are a couple of things that we can take into consideration. First, prioritize based on risk and impact as it can allow QuickerDoc to assess features for potential risk and business impact. As a result of this, QuickerDoc can allocate testing resources to high-risk or high-impact areas first. Collaborate with cross-functional teams. It is advisable to involve product owners, developers, and other stakeholders in test planning phases to gain insight and clarity on feature requirements and expectations. Iterative planning is also important to continually refine and adjust the test plan with each sprint. Therefore, all the team can adapt to changing requirements and feedback from previous sprints. It is best for QA to leverage user stories and acceptance criteria as the base test case scenarios and cases directly on user stories. By leveraging on user stories and acceptance criteria, QA can ensure tests are aligned with business objectives and user expectations. There should be allocated time for exploratory testing to identify unanticipated issues that structured tests might miss. Another important thing is to optimize on test data management. We need to ensure that testers have access to relevant, high-quality test data. And lastly, implement a mechanism to rapidly feed test results back into the planning phase to improve subsequent test plans and strategies. So how can we leverage automation to maximize the agile process in QuickerDoc? We can definitely start with automating the repetitive, time-consuming tasks to save time. Ensure there's rapid feedback to development team by enabling quicker iterations. Automation tests need to run consistently to eliminate potential human error, which also guarantees that every feature is tested the same way every release cycle. Enhance the test coverage robustness by adding more comprehensive testing in each cycle, including edge cases and corner cases. The next thing is to integrate the test automation with CI/CD pipelines, allows for early identification of issues, then can result in lower cost and time of remediation by catching bugs in the initial stages. With automated testing, QuickerDoc can run multiple tests in parallel across different environments and devices, which ensures the software platform performs effectively under various scenarios. As a QA, we can build our regression automated suites to ensure the new changes haven't disrupted existing functionality. There are also a non-functional automated tests that can be built, such as performance, load, and stress tests for comprehensive quality check. And let's be real, automation testing is not cheap. However, the return on investment in the long term can pay off the initial investment in setting up automation testing as long as it's being managed and built correctly. If we weigh the advantages and disadvantages of automation testing, they are more good in automation testing as it can facilitate more frequent release, reducing time to market, and boosting competitive advantage. So in the case of our tail company, QuickerDoc, how it can embrace continuous improvement, maybe we can start off with feedback-driven iterations by leveraging insights from retrospective, customer feedbacks, and testing results. When we leverage these insights, we also need to implement actionable changes in subsequent sprints to rectify identified gaps. There's also a need to regularly update team skills to match evolving technologies and methodologies. Maybe by implementing cross-train, team members can broaden their knowledge. Optimizing tooling and infrastructure is also important to regularly evaluate and refine the tools used for development, testing, and deployment. It is important for a company and its employees to stay updated with advancements and integrate tools that enhance efficiency. It is also advisable to foster an environment where team members can freely share ideas, concerns, feedbacks, which promotes psychological safety, where mistakes are seen as learning opportunities. Metrics and KPI can sometimes be seen as a negative thing by most employees. However, when we set achievable goals, it can improve the efficiency process by having data-driven insights to ensure maximum impact. For all the QA manager or any decision makers out there, it's important to encourage teams to regularly question existing processes and tools. This way, there's potential for finding a new innovation and experimenting with the new approaches, even if the current one seems adequate. Lastly, and most importantly, we need to align our improvement strategies with customers' feedback and market trends. Ensure the product, process, even our test cases evolution resonates with end user expectations and needs. So, in conclusion, empowering your QA team is actually very important to have a successful projects. It's important for a company to have a good quality culture where everyone hand in hand working together to build a good quality product. So let's concur Agile one sprint at a time. And so in that case, thank you very much everyone for listening to my presentation today. Hopefully this helped many people, not only QA, in overcoming SDLC bottlenecks.
Thank you, Reifa, for this interesting presentation. Well, I've been working in Agile as well, and I can see the challenges and the throughputs and the advantages of having Agile. Initially, if I share my own experience as well with Agile, it's a change in mindset for sure. We had this mindset of QA being like the first to be hired, and the first to be fired and the last to be hired. So yeah, Agile changes that for
yeah.
sure.
That's pretty much what's going on. And even in the recent news, actually, in Indonesia, what's interesting is there was a famous one where the entire division of QA was actually being laid off. The whole
Oh, I
division.
see.
So that's
Ah,
very unfortunate thing, actually, because
yes,
that's the saying of the shift left that makes it things
yeah,
very difficult to like. It's not really about how we see QA. Maybe that's the thing. The mindset of what is QA is actually needs to change a little bit.
yeah.
So yeah.
We definitely made a long way actually from the waterfall model, sequential model to iterative model like agile. We have implementation for scrums, Kanban board, and so on. So it's definitely a long way. And now QA is more than ever actually being valued in the market for the value that they're creating for each organization. And now any deployment actually need to go through QA for quality check to make sure that it is consistent with the requirement, it is consistent with the functional working of the software, and so on. So yeah, that's the new way of working with Agile.
Oh, that's
And,
wonderful
yeah,
to hear, actually, to have that kind of process in mind. Yeah.
right. So we do have some questions from our audience. We'll just pull it out on the screen. So how do you balance the need for continuous testing and automation with the potential challenges of managing and maintaining an ever-growing suite of automated tests?
Oh yeah. Automated tests can be very big, when we started adding them, and there's so many test cases, and we feel like we have to automate everything, right?
Yes.
So balancing continuous testing with maintaining a manageable test suite is indeed a challenge. Everyone for sure will face that challenge. Maybe in the, not in the beginning, but in the middle of it, when we started actually having the regression, for example, the regression suites there. The key is in regularly running and or pruning and reviewing the test suites. There's no way we can just keep adding things without removing things, because of course some features are actually going to be let's say invalidated test cases. Let's say it's not there anymore, it's not in the product anymore. So as features actually evolve or are deprecated, so we need to start updating our test cases and remove them actually from our automation test suites, or even manual, our manual testing. We need to keep, pruning and grooming them, so that it is not actually going to be such a huge suites. So by implementing these practices, like maybe the task pyramid as well can help, ensuring like there's a balance between unit testing, integration testing, and maybe the UI test. So prioritizing tests based on risk assessment as well can also ensure that some of the vital features are always truly being tested without ballooning the test suite size unnecessarily. So yeah, so I hope that helps.
It does. It does help. It answers the question for sure. So the second one that we have from our community is you mentioned fostering open communication in agile team. How do you handle a situation where open communication lead to disagreement or conflict? This is quite prevalent in agile teams, actually, where we tend to go into arguments or disagreement, and that raises conflicts. So how do you
Yeah.
manage that?
So it's actually definitely uh, we cannot hide, or we cannot. It's very common that where we have these open communications and everyone argue or even maybe fight over something that is not really actually supposed to be fight for. But open communication is essential actually for agile success. It can sometimes lead to disagreements. In such case, it's vital to have a structured conflict resolution process. So, firstly, maybe it's essential to create an environment where everyone already feels safe to voice out their opinions without fear of retribution, for sure. And then, definitely, when disagreements arise, it's beneficial to focus on the issue at hand instead of everywhere, right? Sometimes it just go everywhere. And then hopefully there's a facilitator or scrum master can play a role in guiding the discussions, ensuring they remain productive. Sometimes taking a step back and revisit, maybe we need to revisit something like the project's goals and the user stories, can help actually realign the team and resolve the disagreements. So that's a couple of takes on my side for
Yes.
disagreement.
What I'll take away from this is to have an open mind when implementing agile for sure, and no retribution
Yeah,
to any questions asked and so on. So there is a tagline in QA that we say that there is no stupid question. So that should
correct.
be a for sure. Yeah.
Yes, that should definitely be being discussed. There's no pointing fingers, because there's a
Yes.
saying here actually. If you point fingers like this, there are three of them, facing you.
Yeah.
So yeah, so definitely it's good to have to check first whether is it really actually something that needs to be argued about. But the retribution part, everyone needs to feel safe when they express their thoughts. So retrospective in that case needs to be, in the safe space.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for the answer. We have one more question. It's about continuous improvement. So continuous improvement is a core of the tenet of agile. How do you ensure that the quest for improvement doesn't lead to frequent disruption or change that might disorient the team or stakeholder? Because what I feel as well for stakeholders, actually, agile can be mind bending a bit as well. So when we implement continuous improvement as well in the process, there might be some disorientation of the team. They may go
Yeah.
off track, and as well with the stakeholder together. So how do you find the balance there?
Yeah. So definitely, when people listen to change, sometimes it becomes very defensive, especially stakeholders. When they know that there's going to be big changes coming, they will start to be like, oh, is it going to be a long process? Is the process going to make our release longer? So that's pretty much what it is, right? Like, how can we get our product as fast as possible without no issue, with no issues?
Yes.
But then let's be real. Like, sometimes we need to review our process. We need to make sure that the continuous improvement is actually very vital. It shouldn't lead to a state of perpetual flux. So the idea is to strike the balance between how we can improve and also not actually bothering or changing the process like suddenly, because that's definitely is going to um, let's say too disruptive is not good as well sometimes.
Yes.
So we need to find that balance. So retrospective at the end of each sprint should be structured in a way to identify what kind of improvement that is actually available for the team, for even like the overall company in the like overall company or even overall process, so that the next time we can start change, or we can start input whatever that we found in the retrospective. We can start incorporating them into the next sprint. So instead of like boom, we put everything at the beginning, we change everything, everything has to, you follow the SOP, follow all the guidelines that are there, make sure that it's actually being incorporated slowly but structurally are actually being implemented. So there's people can see there's some improvement, even though it's a little bit, but then there's improvement out there. Therefore, when we start having these agile processes, when we start saying, okay, this one works, this one doesn't work, we can see, right, which one that is actually working. So then whenever we have the next retrospective, then we can see, okay, this style is not working for our squad. Let's change it to is there any better way for us to improve further? So yeah, definitely. But for sure, we need to have the data backup. We need to make sure that every single thing that we discuss or we suggested is actually lead by data, so that whenever we say, okay, this is not working, but why? There's a reason actually, and then you can show that there's a data analysis behind it. And then for sure, don't ask someone to start fighting over things. Well, communicate, whatever that you have in your mind. Make sure that it's actually something proper ways of saying that you are in disagreement about something, instead of starting to become very angry and then shutting off, doesn't want to hear anything else. So yeah, so definitely that kind of balance is necessary for that distractions that is coming in agile process.
For sure. For sure. Thank you for the answer. So what I'll take away from this answer is a phased implementation of changes that would be required instead of like a big bang approach to implement changes. And again, collaboration is coming again in this field, where we have to ensure that there is a seamless teamwork and collaboration within the different stakeholders and different part of the team as well. So yeah, those were the answers. This is a question that we had. We have some kudos from our audience. How to place another question actually from Stefan. So how to place inside a 2 week agile sprint the enough time to manage and make up to date of your test suite, right?
Okay, thank you so much, Stefan, for the questions. I hope I said your name correctly. So definitely that 2 weeks is always become a problem for sure. I would say that straightforward. Um, so most of the time, QA we have that H-1 actually. So assuming we just, let's say this is a new project, and then everyone kick off at the same time. So of course we have the same speed between the developers and the QA to start working together hand in hand. But as we move forward building the product, it's for sure we will see that the QA team will start, slowly maybe moving behind, because of sometimes we cannot sometimes we cannot say no to the changes, the scope creep that I mentioned before. So in order to do so, in my own experience, I would definitely screen through all the requested documents first from the change request, and then make sure that it's actually being prioritized properly. So I have to discuss with the team, communicate with the team during maybe stand up, that okay, there's a new change request. There's no way I can manage to put my test cases and also to update my test cases and then create my new test cases, and then the time for me to execute those test cases. So then I will communicate my concerns with, of course, backup with data, and then make sure that it's actually being heard correctly by having them to see that these new changes can have a big impact in ABC, for example. There's a risk there. So if you introduce a new features, there's going to be a risk. So what are the risks? So we can discuss about it. And then after that, to manage the up-to-date test suites, of course, we have to, sometimes there's no time. I agree with you. But then what I usually do is to actually looking into my, I hope that you have test case management suites already, something like there's so many tools out there with the test case management, that there's gonna be a time where you need to spend at least 1 hour each day to groom your test cases. There's never enough time, right? There's never a saying that okay, we can do testing, and then while we also do writing the test cases. But then when can we actually do the grooming? So as a QA, I usually will take at least a minimum of an hour, if not 30 minutes of my time, to just take a look at what I have written before. So, a little bit time, 30 minutes each day can add up, right? So even like 1 hour, 5 days, you work for 5 days, that's already 5 hours of your time to manage your test suites to make it up to date. So I hope that's actually answer your questions, and in terms of when to find the right time to update and manage the test case. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Reifa. Um, right, that was the questions that we had from our audience. So, Reifa, it was a pleasure having you with us, and thank you for sharing your experience and knowledge about Agile with our audience. I'm sure that there is a lot of takeaway from your presentation that is has enlightened our audience for sure. So, thank you again for being with us, and stay tuned. We have a lot of interesting presentations coming up. So stay tuned and stay with us on the social media that you're connected with, and keep your questions flowing in, and we'll take care of these. So thank you, Raifa.
Thank you so much.